Shared decision making is my model. And I also use a model of manual therapy that's very unorthodox when it comes to traditional historical views of manual therapy, because traditional views are there's a problem here in the larynx. We need to reduce the muscle tension there. It's almost if you excuse the phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. People see it as a local problem. There's too much muscle tension in the larynx, and a local solution where skilled touch, skilled therapy, skilled manipulation is somehow able to locally change that muscle tension, which allows the person to swallow with greater ease, with less pain, etc. And while that's a nice narrative, it's just woefully simplistic and incomplete. And this quote here really to me embodies the modern views of manual therapy, be it out in my general physical therapy manual therapy or in the niche of laryngeal manual therapies and related. Shared decision making, at least in my field of physical therapy, shared decision making is something that's not given a lot of power, if you will. It's not given a lot of attention because most educators in the manual therapy field teach what I call clinician as expert models. Basically, it's a multi-tiered system of courses that you take until you become a master or an expert or whatever sort of qualification that's deemed appropriate by that individual model. And certainly, we are experts, we become masters, we get good at what we're doing. But within that clinician as expert model, I think is a narrowing of attention paid and respect paid to the values and expectations of the patient. And 1/3 of the evidence-based model is patient values and expectations. And in manual therapy, it's really not given much credit, much attention at all, because we're so reliant on the expertise of the clinician. It's essentially a paper which I'm more than willing to share with anybody who wants it, or any of these papers if you can't get them, that really asks for an update in laryngeal manual therapies. Because when I wrote this paper in 2024, even research that was coming out in 2024 was talking about laryngeal manipulation having an effect on voice and swallowing from the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas perspective. And in this rather brief paper, I basically said, here's so many other things that have been released in the literature over the last 20 years. Why are we still producing papers that talk about the Vegas perspective? So, and most of these papers here, and all these papers here, are in the more general manual therapy literature, but they certainly apply to manual therapy as applied for the speech therapy. A strong body of evidence for using manual therapy for trismus and tongue-related concerns. One of my favorite ones is Macmillan in 2022, where they did, I've got a little video at the end. I'm going to show you a patient encounter or a clinical encounter using some of the techniques done in Macmillan's paper. And what I really like about Macmillan's paper is by using some simple manual therapy techniques on somebody with post-fibrotic trismus, is they were able to get the greatest percentage of change from the first intervention. Each subsequent intervention continued gains, but the percentages of change were smaller. And I love that as sort of an incentive builder for new clinicians thinking of using manual therapy, that you have the potential to create a real positive change and a lasting change from that first intervention.